Good afternoon. Greetings from ye old parsonage. Uh, this is Brian and Jennifer
Hello.
operating the camera, sending messages of love and peace to everybody in our church community. We are going to be sending out a Monday morning with some updates about our church, but for the time being, it just seems like with everything weird happening in the world, it might be more reassuring and easier to just film some things rather than asking you to read pages and pages of stuff. So we wanted to send out just a quick message today to let you know of a few things about how our church is approaching this historic event that we are all living through, what things we are asking our entire church community to do to be safe, and to let you know about a few things that your staff and your leadership will be trying to do in the coming days to bring us all together in the ways that are safe. So the first thing is everything that we are learning about this pandemic is that the virus seems to be spreading really easily and really rapidly. We seem to be doubling the known number of cases. Thank you, Jennifer. That we seem to be doubling the known number of cases every 3 to 4 days, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down yet. And that's why the state of Maine, the United Church of Christ, all kinds of governments and institutions are asking all of us to do our part by staying home and staying away from one another, practicing social distancing at the very least. But really, starting this week, we are hoping that for at least the next 7 to 14 days, we can all remain isolated at home so that we eliminate the opportunity to spread this virus to one another. We need to remind everybody that you may not be having any symptoms currently, but that doesn't mean that you're not carrying the virus. And we know that we have so many in our community who are older, who have underlying conditions that will make them suffer the most from this virus. So choosing to stay home is not lazy, and it's not silly, and it's not even overreacting. It's a huge sign of love to your neighbor, to say that we care enough about your health to limit our own range of freedom. It's a huge sign of love to everybody. So please do your best to stay home. We in the church office, currently Jennifer and I, we will be here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings and early afternoons for the time being, because it's just the two of us, and we're asking everyone else to kind of steer clear of the building as much as you can. As you'll see in your mooring, we're asking that everyone do what you can to reach out to one another. Find out about people that you usually see every week at church. Call them, reach out, find ways of helping one another. What do we need? Does everybody have what they need to be able to stay in place for the next several days? We want to put together teams of healthy people, teams of younger people who are less affected by this, who can go grocery shopping, who can go run errands for folks who don't feel comfortable leaving their house. We're going to be putting together lots of different ways of reaching out and connecting and being of service to one another in the coming days. And we only know how to do that if people will call or email and let us know what you need. So just so you know, for the time being, the best number one ways of reaching us will either be our church email, kitterypointucc@gmail.com, which as of this afternoon is an email that both Jennifer and I will be checking multiple times a day. I'll still be checking my own personal email several times, but the church email, Jennifer and I both have access to, so the odds of you getting a quick response are very, very good. You can also call the church office, or you can call my cell phone number, especially for all pastoral emergencies. I'm not going to say it because this is a video on the internet, but you can find my cell phone if you need it, if you're a member of our church community. The church office phone is 207-439-0650. Call anytime, especially if you are sick, especially if you have any kind of emergency need. We are here to help. We're here to take care of one another. The other few things I want to let you know. Just because we're not allowed to meet in person doesn't mean we're not going to be meeting. It doesn't mean we're not going to be gathering. Your church staff has spent today trying to figure out the best ways of utilizing technology to make sure that we can have interactive experiences and not be socially isolated, even though we have to be physically isolated. We are on the older end of the millennial curve, so we are all still figuring out what works best. And we promise to send another mooring on Wednesday to let you know exactly what we're looking at, what seems to work for the most number of people to have free and easy access to gathering online. And so our very first opportunity to try that out will be Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. you will be able to join us from anywhere in the world as long as you have a computer and access to the internet. And Wednesday morning, we will be sending out a mooring that tells you exactly what you need to do to join us. And then at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday, you can make yourself a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and enjoy gathering together from the comfort and safety of your own home. There's a few other things that we're doing. Your staff will be working throughout the week to make sure that we are reaching out and talking directly to everyone in our church directory. So between now and Friday, you can expect to hear from either Tracy, Beth, Jennifer, or myself, possibly Morgan McCurdy is our interim choir director. You will hear from at least one of us in the coming days so we can find out if you're safe, if you have everything you need, and what ways we can be of service together. We also have thought of something. So one of the things that the state of Maine is saying is that for the next several weeks, possibly as much as 8 weeks, they are recommending that we don't have gatherings of more than 50 people. And if our groups include elder folk, senior citizens, then we are not allowed to have more than 10 people in a group. I know that sounds really hard. I know that sounds really scary. But we have a lot of teachers and educators and former educators in our community. And so the 1 year that I taught public school, I was told that on the first day, you want to lay out all the rules of the classroom and you want to double down on those as much as humanly possible because it's always easier to take rules away than it is to add them later. And that's kind of how I'm looking at this whole pandemic. We may be overreacting. We may be practicing things that are too cautious and too scary. But it's better to do all of that now so that we can do what we can to stay safe and stay healthy and then remove some of those restrictions as we go. That's going to be a lot more effective than trying to add restrictions later on. So the goal is for the next 2 weeks or so to monitor yourself, to make sure that you are healthy, that you're not exhibiting signs of the illness, which have high fever, dry cough, or respiratory breathing problems. Those are like the 3 biggest signs of this. And if you notice yourself or a loved one having any of those signs, you want to call the local hospital immediately and see what they would recommend you do. But in the next couple weeks, if we do a good job of following this rule of not gathering in person, then we'll know pretty quickly who's infected and who's not, and what we need to do to prevent from spreading it further. And at that time, it will probably be easier to gather together in small groups. So here's what we're proposing. We are going to be offering what we are calling anchor groups. Anchor groups are going to be our small groups here at our church. They're going to be our ways of staying deeply connected with one another, finding out what's happening with one another without giving any group of people the burden of having to check in with up to 300 folks every single week. And as we go through this experience together, those small groups of 10 or fewer people will be able to decide together what feels safe and good for gathering. Maybe pretty soon, those small groups will feel comfortable meeting in each other's houses to stream Sunday morning worship services together. Maybe you'll feel comfortable meeting together to have coffee or have Bible study or prayer group or any kinds of social interactions. Maybe there's going to be a mahjong anchor group. So what we're asking you to do is this. 1, if you are willing to lead one of these groups, if you're willing to be a go-to leader of one of these anchor groups, let us know. Send us an email and we'll sign you up. For every leader that we get to take on one of these groups, we will then ask for people to join these groups, and we'll give no more than 9 people to every leader, so that every single group is 10 people or fewer, so that in the coming days and weeks, you'll be able to figure out how to take care of one another easily and when it's safe to gather together. That's our idea, and I hope it sounds as exciting to you as it is to us. So far, we know for sure that myself, your pastor, Brian, that Jennifer, Beth St. John, and Mary Jane Rowan are all willing to lead groups. So we're ready to have 40 people connect through these small groups. And as more people volunteer to be leaders, we will be able to assign more people to more groups. Again, the emphasis will be to stay home, to not meet in person for at least a little while. But as you get your group together, you'll be able to find ways of talking on the phone, meeting online, whatever works best for all of you. And it's a great way of making sure that we're not letting people slip through the cracks. If you're somebody who is ill with anything, if you're somebody who's really scared and nervous about what's going to happen, please sign up to be a part of one of these groups, because then you have a few people who are going to be checking in with you regularly to make sure that you're okay. It's a lot of information. There's a lot of talking. So we're going to take a brief pause. We're going to let Jennifer finish this morning and get it sent out. And we just need you to know that we are here. My cell phone is on literally every single moment of every single day. Our email we will be checking email and phone messages several times throughout every single day. The most important thing you can do right now, other than staying home and staying well, is letting us know what you need. We're already hearing from parents who are really having a hard time having kids at home, and it's only the first day that schools are closed. We're already hearing from people who don't know where their next paycheck is going to come from. We're hearing from people who cannot afford to stay where they are without incoming money. We're hearing from folks who need help doing very ordinary things that they never thought they would have to ask for help to get. We have several members of our community who have already volunteered to help out with all of those things, but we just need to know what's needed. So this is a time to practice vulnerability. It's a time to practice trust and humility with one another so that we can do what we can to take care of one another. The other thing that I wanted to mention is, since we're not gathering together in person, we're not having an opportunity to have a regular offering. We are so blessed as a church. There are so many other churches that are going to be struggling with this reality a lot more than us. But we are really fortunate that we're really well set up with online giving, with abilities to give money and donating to the church remotely. So Jennifer is going to include that information in the morning. Please look through there and make sure you're doing what you can to remain connected. If you are already an electronic giver to our church, no need to worry. Otherwise, there are several ways of donating and giving money to the church regularly. You just look for the giving buttons on our website, or you can download the Giving Plus app to your iPhone. It's super easy, and we're going to make sure that you have access to all that information. And the biggest thing I would ask you to do, more than just donating to the church as you regularly would, I would also ask you to think about donating $5 every week. $5 every week at least, that isn't earmarked for anything, that our church can use to send money to whoever needs it most in the coming weeks and months ahead. We know that this is an incredibly hard time for so many people. And we are so fortunate that we have this caring, generous community that really have capabilities of giving. And we're trying to do what we can to collect that money and get it to where it needs to go. Consider it an ongoing deacons fund, but it's not going to be earmarked, and it's going to be stuff that we use specifically to help families and individuals who are hit the hardest by this event. Friends, it's a blessing to be serving with you, serving alongside you. This is one of those moments that we kind of practice for every week. Every week we get together and we say, we are God's beloved children. We are here to inspire spiritual growth, to nurture all families, and embrace our wider community. Every week we say, no matter who you are or where you are on your journey, you're welcome here. Every week we talk about how God put us on this earth to love the divine, to love ourselves as the divine loves us, and to love one another as ourselves. We do this every week so that in times of crisis, it's easier to do together. So reach out as you need, hold one another in prayer. That's all I have to say. Sending you much love and much peace and much grace from our beautiful parish house. We'll see you soon.